Alright guys, Kremp again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Minor one has concluded. The champions have been crowned $20,000 and 30 CDL points richer. A very interesting weekend of matches and entertaining this evening again as well. OpTic, FaZe, Ravens, all in various dramas on the day. Very much interested to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. We begin here. FaZe played the Minnesota Rocker. I thought FaZe were going to be handling business here relatively easily, but fair play to Rocker. Look, at the end of the day, this is an online tournament. It's single elimination. There were always going to be results and performances that may be surprised to some extent. Of course, FaZe, they're still FaZe. They've still got the players that won the World Cup, the most recent tournament, not all that long ago in the grand scheme of things. We know they've been working very hard on their practice behind the scenes over the last couple of weeks. They were putting in 3 scrim sets a day, but they were losing scrims to teams like Omit down there in challenges, and they were questioned as to how FaZe were looking, and even how FaZe would fare against opposition, really anyone. Yes, they dispatched of Los Angeles Thieves pretty impressively, but Nadeshot was saying, look, we think we took our foot off the gas a little bit. We'll discuss probably more on that tomorrow. But Minnesota Rocker, they put up a good fight in this series. They always seem to. Again, I'm still not convinced by Rocker, but every series they played, they seem to be getting better and better. And I think a tournament like this could actually be really good for Minnesota. Good team building opportunity, and also just the possibility to play day after day after day. We don't get that in the CDL anymore, apart from the majors, where you actually get the opportunity to play multiple games. This weekend's the teams that made it to today were playing, matches every day, if not a couple here on the championship Sunday. FaZe win the game 1. Game 2, though, was Rockers, thanks to this absurd clutch by Estriel. I mean, let's be honest, Drazah should never lose this in a million years. There is literally no reason to. He nearly clutches the 1v3. He gets the first, gets the second. All he has to do at this point is just lay down on the floor, and it's impossible for Estriel to win the rounds. But he thinks he's got the ultimate head glitch, and to be fair, he does. But Estriel rips him off it and gets the defuse with like a second to spare. So that was pretty mega. Estriel goes 12-4 to tie up the series. So, look, we know that Estriel, especially on LAN, I would say, last year for the Gorillas, was particularly impressive for that organization. This year so far, we're seeing it. I mean, look, it's online so far, right? Everything that we have seen here in Black Ops 6. But Estriel, after a slow start to the season, is getting better and better. Look, that sub-duo, they're going to have their ups, they're going to have their downs, right? Like Nero, is occasionally they're just going to get fried. But Nero, every series is good for at least one map where he's looking good. This, though, was kind of the FaZe of old. It's pretty rare that we've seen this, at least in recent times. FaZe just slamming a team off the server, 24-8 in live count at this point. Cellium was 9-1. He had their number in this series. But it was actually not FaZe that ended up winning this map. It was a Rocker who closed out the Vault control. They took a 2-1 series lead, and it required FaZe to win a pretty tight red card hardpoint in the end to get this series even to 5. And in, obviously, map 5, anything realistically could happen. And this was an Atlanta FaZe dub. So, yeah, impressive stuff from FaZe, I thought. They've clearly worked a lot behind the scenes. Working on their search and destroy as well has obviously been a strength of theirs. And if Drazah didn't lose the round that he did, who knows what happens in the second search and destroy as well. But when it mattered in the game 5, FaZe had, just a little bit too much. Simp came to play in certain moments as well. And as Drazah says, we kept grinding. Yeah, FaZe was struggling, no doubt about it. Shotzzy even said he reckons they were in a slump, right, as far as he saw it. But Drazah says, I felt like people who got wins were getting complacent already. We are still confident to win. So, interesting statement, especially based on what we heard out of, well, not out of Scrappy, but out of Nadeshot, where he was quite adamant, as far as he is concerned, that his team, the Los Angeles Thieves, took their foot off the gas pedal to some degree over the Christmas New Year break. FaZe definitely didn't, and like in the grand scheme of the season, this is an online tournament. It might not be the biggest deal, but it might be. Who knows? If Thieves fail to capitalize on the advantage they had at the start of the year, it may not come back to them so easily. So, look, Cellium had a great series for the first time, to be fair, in some time. It's still not like he had a 1.4, as he occasionally had done, but it was a 1.1 with 14,000 damage, most in the lobby in the end, and FaZe win 2 hardpoints in a map 5 search and destroy to take down the Minnesota Rocker. Good series of Estriel, especially. Again, poor Lex with a bit of a struggle. His numbers have not been very good nor consistent so far. And when you've got Estriel, Geo, Nero, There's a lot of talent in there, but I think there is an argument to say that if Rocker, let's say they come out of Major 1 and they're still performing kind of like this against some of the top teams, maybe they feel like they can do a bit better. There could be roster changes to consider, at least for the Minnesota Rocket in the short term. This, though, was the drama series. OpTic versus the Carolina Ravens. Now, this is interesting, of course, for a number of different reasons. As we said earlier today, Shotzzy versus Slasher, a massive talking point of the last few years. Slasher never beaten Shotzzy in their careers. 0 in 14. A crazy number, but it's true. 0 in 14 in online, in LAN, whatever, ever since Shotzzy came into the league. In the same way that TJ finally broke his curse against FaZe a few weeks ago, I thought maybe it was time for Slasher to do the same. We thought it on the Dope Check prediction show that we did a few days ago that Ravens would beat OpTic in this very series. And that's what happened, but it happened in a pretty controversial way because, of course, Shotzzy's been going rampant over the last few days about the fact that these pros ain't trying, he can't get real practice, he's playing teams that aren't playing the right way, they're not trying to win, all this type of stuff. And look, I don't disagree with lots of what Shotzzy says. It's interesting that Shotzzy's saying it in the way that he is compared to what you might typically expect from his personality over the last few years, but I'm certainly not complaining as a fan of the entertainment value here within the scene, and that certainly continued during this series itself. But also, if you're going to say that, you kind of got to back it up. You kind of got to win. Certainly in a series like this, when Shotzzy, of course, has made the point that Ravens, he's not been impressed by Ravens. Shotzzy said this on stream a number of times, even on Scump's watch party and stuff, that Ravens getting slammed in scrims. Like, these guys, you know, he doesn't think they're either very good or he doesn't think that they're playing correctly in practice. I guess that's the argument. But at the end of the day, what matters is the matches. And this is where Gwinn, of course, comes to the party. But map 1, no problem for OpTic. They got the job done emphatically. This was a serious Huke takeover map, and Dashy, to be fair. But yeah, there was really no answer from Vivid. Slasher had a bit of a rough one here on the map 1. Skyline hardpoint. Huke took over. And I think this is one question with OpTic. Of course, Kenny's search and destroy has been a question, but also how Huke is going to transfer to LAN. That's another viable question too. But game 1, Dashy and Huke combined for 69 in 40. Loads of hill time, loads of damage. That was GG. But the game 2, again, on this Hacienda search and destroy, you know, this reeked of classic OpTic to me. There were kind of a number of rounds here, at least a couple, where OpTic will look back and they'll think, all right, probably didn't make the best plays there, could have capitalized a bit better. And like, every team makes these mistakes, but it's a, you know, it's a series that OpTic will feel like in hindsight they really should be going up 2-0 in, I think. Especially moments like this. Shotzzy gets 1, Shotzzy gets 2, shoots the hell out of Gwynn's body, right? So these two, they've been having a bit of a rivalry going on, with Shotzzy's words that he said, Gwinn not necessarily agreeing. Things have been starting to kick off. It went 4-4. Dashy so nearly got this clutch in, but it didn't quite happen. It looks like it's fully green on the bar, but unfortunately this bar is somewhat deceiving, and he was about 0.1 seconds off of actually getting it defused before he went down, just before the defuse officially came through. And the final rounds, Slasher went big with a 3-piece. Again, you know, the decision-making here from OpTic, maybe you might question it. Obviously, Huke flying around the corner there probably wasn't much else he could realistically do. But, yeah, just moments of weakness creeping in, I thought, today to OpTic's gameplay. Maybe not a massive surprise. It's an online tournament. It's not the most, you know, the biggest deal in the world, but I'm sure they would have liked to win it. And the game 3, they did win the game 3. Dashy had a big takeover map here. So again, it's Dashy. It's generally Shotzzy, the two players that have been taken over. But to be fair, for all of Shotzzy's words, it's not like he had the best tournament here at Minor 1. And then map 4 was a red card hardpoint, of course, the map where it's not like OpTic have been looking that good on it in scrims over the last few weeks. It's been a mix of opinions whether they're actually good or not, and fair play to TJ, went massive towards the end of this map. Again, it might not be the most competitive hardpoint map in the world, but it was pretty entertaining coming down to the wire in this one. OpTic got cleaned out, TJ went big. There was this as well. Again, it's one of these weird game things. It's been the case for years here. It's 0-0 on the clock. OpTic, at least on this, they appear to be in the hardpoint contesting. It wouldn't have actually mattered. Like, you know, the Ravens guys were there to clean up anyway. But again, just something interesting to note. It goes to a game 5. OpTic lose the red card. And again, the game 5, a similar storyline emerging, right? It's 1-1 at this point. Shotzzy's getting kills. He's taken down Slasher. He goes to take down Gwinn as well. Shoots his body. So, you know, big gunfight there. Then the final gunfight goes down as well. Body's getting shot, and Shotzzy very clearly saying, you know, you're absolutely terrible. So he's letting the Ravens know the body shots were coming through big time. And look, we've talked about it over the last couple of years. Body shots and then losing, it's always a controversial thing. Cellium always gets clowned for it. Everyone's going to get clowned for it when it happens. Am I going to say don't do it? Absolutely not. I think that's exactly what should be done because it brings some entertainment. It's what it's passion. It's what it's all about. All of a sudden, this one goes 4-4. It's looking like it's going to go down to the wire, but in the end, Ravens just had a bit too much on the protocol search and destroy. They win this one 6-4. Kenny bows out. Both of the search and destroy maps here for Kenny were pretty rough indeed. Another storyline we're going to have to be keeping an eye on, right? Because we talked about it now for quite a few days, and it was the same story here again. This, of course, was the first search and destroy that OpTic had even lost with Huke. This map, Kenny goes, what, 2-9? On the map 5, Kenny goes 4-8 or 4-9. So, yeah, a combined like 6-19 in the search and destroys this series for Kenny. Not what he would have wanted. And OpTic bow to the tournament in top 4. Not the end of the world. They had to make the run from the first round of losers. It's an online single elimination tournament, but, you know, they would have wanted to win it. And especially given the storylines, what Shotzzy's been having to say over the last few days, the situation with the Gwinn drama, and it's Gwinn that gets his revenge on some level, right? Obviously, Slasher gets his win for the first time in 15 attempts. Gwynn's throwing the birds up on the broadcast at the boys in OpTic Texas. And, you know, as Dashy says, GG's Ravens lost 2-3. Got the 10 CDL points, though. So, yeah, very much intrigued to see what you guys think in the comment section below and what we hear about this over the coming days, because the drama is certainly not stopping as it stands in the CDL. These were the overall numbers. OpTic actually outslaying considerably and losing. Pretty impressive from Ravens from like a fundamental perspective, but at the end of the day, the OpTic guys, when they won their maps, they won them pretty emphatically, so you tend to see numbers like this, I would say. But obviously, it was certainly still a talking point of the community. And then we had to move on to the Grand Finals. And in the end, the Grand Finals was not quite as entertaining as it may have otherwise been. I guess it was slightly too much to ask to get the Ravens to win back-to-back series against the Atlanta FaZe. And they, after all the stuff we've been talking about FaZe over the last couple of weeks, they come through, they start and losers round 1, they beat everybody in their path on the way to the championship. Look, when you look back at their run, you'll say, okay, they beat Miami, they beat Rocker, they beat Ravens, but they beat Thieves in there. They beat the favourites, and they dispatched the Ravens pretty emphatically, to be honest. A team that, of course, has been looking very good as of late. They'd just beaten OpTic very shortly before, and, of course, FaZe had to wait a couple of hours while that series was unfolding. But both of the hardpoints here were very dominant, really. And, look, this is apparently what happens in scrims when teams play Ravens in hardpoints, but obviously in matches it's been a rather different story. Whereas FaZe in their hardpoint scrims, obviously it's not been looking so good. Not the case, though, when it comes to official games. FaZe take the protocol. This was the crucial map, though, I thought here, really. Ravens, if they were going to win this series, they were probably going to need to do it in 5, I thought, with the way that FaZe were playing. This was a crucial round. 5-5 in the search and destroy. Drazah gets 1. Drazah goes on to get another as well, and in the end, Ravens go down 2-0. To be fair to them, though, they fought back hard. They went to a vault control. FaZe looked like they had the edge at times in this, but actually Ravens, despite bottling this round badly, this round 4, they'll definitely think they should have won, but they still got the defense for the final rounds, so Ravens did eventually close out this map. There was a threat of a reverse sweep on the cards, but in the end, FaZe's hardpoint was just way too good here on the Hacienda, and TJ, despite being, you know, the cookie monster or whatever so far this season, in this particular series in the respawns, he had a really rough time, and FaZe actually just bowled them over. So there we go. Grand Finals are the first kind of tournament of the season. Not the two teams I was expecting. It shouldn't be a massive surprise to see FaZe up here, really, but it's given the way that things have happened so far in the season, it looks like Thieves and OpTic were maybe going to separate themselves this weekend. That's not what happened. FaZe came through, and Ravens pick up a solid amount of points as well for second place, but they do take their first loss of the season, and they don't walk away with the 20 grand. Is it a championship win? Not really. It's a minor at the end of the day. It is online, especially because there's a major in a couple of weeks, but it's still definitely relevant as the rest of the season gets underway. We'll talk more on the reaction, certainly from Gwynn's point of view, over the coming days. These were the final numbers of the weekends, and matches back in the qualifiers happening in just a couple of days. So very much interested in your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.